So I'm just walking in my local park, and as usual I'm surrounded by humans on the road behind me, humans walking through the park, humans walking their dogs. So I'm surrounded by canines, there are seagulls, you'll probably see them flying past me, squirrels everywhere. That one's watching me. And so I thought I wanted to talk about something I'm really interested in, which is called actor network theory. Or I'm gonna use a different way of looking at it, and there's another term that kind of describes it, which is more than human, and another word which is entanglement. Now, all of these phrases mean different things, but also mean the same thing. So if I take entanglement, first of all, of course, I'm entangled with nature. So if I sort of swoop around here, you can see there's all this kind of grass around me, all these kind of park benches, there's trees, there's birds, there's a bit of mist. So I'm entangled in this kind of relationship between nature and kind of human, the architecture and the engineering that kind of brought these things there. I'm entangled in a world where, as I'm walking along, there are conkers on the floor. So it being nearly autumn, the trees are releasing their seeds, and that way it tells me what sort of time it's going to be for conkers to take place, all that sort of thing. So I'm entangled in that moment of the dog and of the seagull, of the grass. And when we talk about the more than human, we're normally talking about the animal world. So that which goes beyond human understanding. So the squirrels have a pattern, they have a relationship to this park, they have a relationship to me. Sometimes when the squirrels see me, they come up to me because they know they're going to get fed. And that relationship isn't necessarily a natural relationship, it's one that's taken part because of our kind of more than human engagement. And the other term I used was actor network theory, and really that's the idea that everything is involved in itself. So there's nothing that exists or comes into being just through one thing. So maybe a good example of that is the lampposts that you kind of can see, you might have seen as I'm walking past. So those lampposts, someone had to mine the materials to make the metals that went into that lamppost. Someone had to transport those materials to the people that cast those materials into metal. Someone then had to take that metal and form it into a tube. Someone then had to take that tube and place it in this park and wire it up, put a bulb in it. Someone had to make that bulb. And so when you start to think about this, everything is connected. And that's what entanglement is, and that's what more than human is. And that's what actor network is. It's this idea that everything is connected. So I'm connected to this tree behind me. I'm connected to the bench. I'm connected to the lamppost. I'm connected to all of these things. All of them have a story. A really good example of actor network theory that I've heard is how we hear about the Battle of Britain. So we know the Battle of Britain was this battle in which the Spitfires and Hurricanes and all the British pilots held back a far superior enemy. And because of them, we now have, we have freedom. But of course, with actor network theory, if you looked at that, there's a legend that we wouldn't have won the Battle of Britain if it wasn't for Swedish factory workers making ball bearings. Because the Swedish made the best ball bearings in the world, and the Spitfires needed them to fly. So without some guy stood on an assembly line in Sweden in 1941, and all of the people that managed to get those ball bearings to us, Britain would have lost the war. And it's one way of looking at how everything is entangled in everything. There's no such thing as kind of genius. The other example I've heard of active network theory is Newton, Isaac Newton, where, you know, he discovered gravity. Well, he wouldn't have discovered gravity if the tree hadn't grown that dropped the apple on his head. But also, he wouldn't have discovered gravity if the person didn't plant that tree. And he wouldn't have discovered gravity if the person who looked after him, because he was famously not able to look after himself, didn't bring him his dinner each day. Okay? All of this thing is connected. So that is entanglement, active network theory, and the more than human. Everything is connected.